you've had a kind of crazy couple of weeks. I hope everything has been going well, that you're doing great, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, I got your videos and your theory picture for this week's lesson, so we'll kind of run through everything real quick there. There's really not a whole lot I have for you to improve on this week, which is kind of cool. You did such a great job with everything. Everything's been really progressing, even though we've had some busy weeks and we've had, you know, some other commitments or video lessons or whatever else has been going on. It's really awesome that you still keep making good progress from lesson to lesson. So very, very good job. Great consistency, even with a lot of other things going on. I know as we get closer to the holidays, there's going to be even more stuff happening too. So the fact that you tend to manage it very well already is a great sign. What we'll do is we'll start first with the theory. We are so close to being done. We're on our very last page. Totally okay that we didn't completely finish it. We'll just finish it up for next week. We'll go over real quick the section that you did, which actually is most of the page, right? This number 27 has, 14 different parts to it. So we did a really great job with our analysis of the musical excerpt that they have for us on this page. The only thing that we missed was on letter D as in dog. So on this one, the question is, what is the tempo marking? And your answer was, it was medium forte. So that actually is your dynamic marking, right? The MF for mezzo forte in the first measure. For the tempo marking, they're actually wanting you to answer this right here. So your tempo marking, remember, is always at the top of your song, and it tells you how fast or how slow we're going to play. Tempo referring to your speed for the piece. So the answer there should be andante, and then you notice letter E, they ask you immediately afterward, what does andante mean? And you defined that perfectly. So that was the only thing that we maybe got a little mixed up on when we were answering those questions. Great job with the intervals. Great job with answering the questions about the time signature and the counts and the slurs. All of that you did fabulous. So what we'll do is we'll finish up number 28 for next week. Here you're transposing a melody from C to D. And remember, I see on your page you have written out the 5 letters for your note names that you'll need in the D major pentascale. So you're just copying out the pattern, but we're just shifting it a little bit so that ideally it sounds exactly the same, but it starts just a little bit higher than if we were to play it in the key of C. So we'll give that a try for next time, and then we will be all finished with the book. We'll take a nice little break. We probably won't even have a new book until January, honestly, because I like to do at least 3 or 4 weeks of lesson time off from a break. We'll see how we're feeling maybe when we get into December, but you've definitely earned a good theory break here with all the good work we've done. So we will figure that out as we go. Let's see, next, so be our guest. Your tempo is fantastic. Speaking of tempo, your tempo here is absolutely awesome. So you did a great job getting that ending not only up to speed, but getting your whole piece at a really, really solid, fast tempo that sounds consistent. It sounds like the song as we're used to hearing it and we're familiar with it. It's really, really well put together. So we're kind of in an interesting spot here because this is about the point where I would say let's go ahead and move it to your review list. And remember, that doesn't mean that it goes away. It's just that we won't spend lesson time on it for the most part in the near future. But you should still always kind of be referring to your review list, maybe picking something off of it a couple times a week to just go back and review, right? So that way we have some of our older pieces that we've worked so hard on to learn and to get to a good spot, and that way you can kind of keep them fresh in your hands and in your memory, and whenever you are in the spot where somebody says, oh, you play piano, why don't you play something for me? You don't have to panic and think, oh my gosh, nothing I'm working on is finished right now, right? You always have something from the review list to pull from. And then of course you can just play it for fun whenever you want. It doesn't have to be necessarily strictly tied to your practice time, right? So I think that's what we'll do. I think we're at the spot where we'll move it to the review list. If you want to go ahead and write that down on your list in your binder this week, that will be great. What is interesting though is that next week we're going to start talking about options for the play-a-thon in December. So I think this would be a great option, which just means that it might go on the review list for maybe 1 week, and then we'll still be going over it in lesson time together if you decide you'd like to perform it in December. So we'll go over that next time. We're not going to make any decisions yet or anything, but I do think that would be a fantastic option and super fun to do in the mall at Christmas time, right? So yeah, plus you know it so well, it would be a really solid choice for performance. So we'll go over that more next week, but if you want to move it to the review list for now, that will be good. Awesome job on that. Next we had King William's March. Also looking good. Good job recovering from that little slip in your recording, right? Not every recording or every take or every time you practice it is going to be absolutely the best. That's kind of why we call it practice, right? Even when we're mostly in a good spot with it, sometimes things might still crop up. You might get distracted, or you might just kind of have a brain slip all of a sudden and you completely forget where you are, or your hands maybe go rogue and all of a sudden you look down and go, well, that didn't sound right. What on earth happened? Right? All those things are totally normal and they happen sometimes, right? So the point is, when they do happen, how do you get out of it? And you did a great job. Even though it was just a recording for a lesson, you still did a really nice job with, that was unusual. Okay, let's go from here, you know? So very good there. We're making great time with that one. Again, I think that would be another solid option for the play-a-thon. We'll talk about that more next week. But yeah, we've really done a stellar job with that one overall. So we'll keep that in the mix for practice for this week. The last song that we recorded was Up on the Housetop. Again, really good progress on this one, considering we had just recently put it all hands together, and I'm guessing with how busy things have been, you haven't had a ton of practice time. The progress that you've made so far is really good. So we'll kind of keep that as is for this week. Keep working on that hands together. If you want, of course, you can still include some practice time just going through each part for your hands one at a time. That can help kind of make it feel more familiar, help you get a chance to focus on the individual movements and patterns for each hand, and kind of bring a little more focus to the rhythm, because when we're doing hands together, we're not focusing on rhythm quite as much, right? We kind of shift our focus to be primarily about the coordination between both hands. So that would be a good tactic as well this week. Doesn't have to be every time you practice. There's really no rules. It's just kind of an extra way to mix things up a little bit and give you some extra benefit to the time that you spend working on the song, especially maybe if you're a little more tired one day and you don't want to maybe think quite as hard, right? That can be a good solution. Instead of kind of struggling through reading both hands together, just go over one at a time for that day. Put it together the next day again, okay? Looking good there. So then the only recording we didn't get was the theme and variation. That was the brand new song that we had just started looking at. Let's just stick with what we had before. I don't want to give you any more when I haven't had a chance to hear it since we started it. So let's just keep our original plan of 2 lines, hands alone, and we'll kind of dig into that a little bit more next time. Let's see. Last time I saw you, we also finished up, I want to make sure I'm not lying. Yeah, we finished up the technique we were working on and our Hanon that we were working on. So what I'd like to do for this week is I'm going to have you look at the A-flat pentascale on your own. So this, you already have the page for it in your binder. It's under the B-flat, E-flat, and A-flat pentascale, so it's the last one on that page. A-flat is interesting because it actually has 4 flats, and they all show up in the pentascale, in the first 5 notes of the scale. So you're gonna have way more black keys than white keys in the pentascale. It's a little more unusual compared to most of the other pentascales that we've done. But all that means is that your hand will have to shift a little higher into the keys, closer to where the keys meet the wood of the piano, rather than on the far end where your hands might fall off into your lap, you know? So that way, I mean, when you have that many fingers on black keys, you kind of have to be farther in, otherwise it's gonna feel pretty odd. But let's go ahead and take a look at that on your own this week. We'll go over it together when I see you on Tuesday, but we'll just keep it at that. If you'd like to look at the triads, you can as well, but I don't expect you to. It's only if you somehow get bored or run out of other things to do and you want to take a look at those as well, knock yourself out. But I'll just ask you for the pentascale next time I see you. And then the only other thing I'd like to do is to have you maybe look through your Christmas book in the next couple of days and pick out another Christmas song that you might want to learn. We don't have to perform any of the Christmas songs if you would rather not for the play-a-thon. It's really completely up to you what we decide to perform, and it should be stuff that you're very comfortable with. So even if we get Up on the Housetop is our other one. Even if Up on the Housetop, we're thinking, I don't know, it may not be comfy in time. You know, it's maybe we would want a little more time with that before we perform it in a public space. That's completely fine too. I would like to start on another Christmas song so that way you can have two that are kind of feeling comfy and ready by Christmas, right? The play-a-thon is December 10th. So Christmas still gives you another couple weeks to have fun with them on your own and at home in your practice. So we'll go ahead and get started on a new one next week, but you go ahead and pick it out. We have already done Jingle Bells and Rudolph from last year. So I'd say let's avoid those two unless you'd like to maybe review one of them for the play-a-thon. We could always do that as well, but it's really up to you. Just take a look this week, see what you would prefer, what kind of jumps out at you as another song you might like to work on for this year, and we'll get started on that together on Tuesday. Okay, I think that's everything. If you have any questions, of course, you or your mom can reach out to me this week, and otherwise I will see you on Tuesday. All right, have a good week. I'll see you then.